So if you were here for part 1, you saw me assemble this really fun folio, and today we're going to get started decorating it. The paper I'm going to use is this one, little one, by Graphic 45. So let's get started. Now for the fun part, right? Playing with the paper. I'm going to cover every part of this guy in paper. That's the first step I'm going to do, okay? And you guys have said you would like to see that process, so here's how I'm going to do it. Off screen, I'm going to cut all the paper. All I do is I measure the spot that I'm going to be covering, cut the paper from the paper pack, and glue it down. But when I'm gluing it down, I'll record it so you can watch what I'm covering, and we'll just put that with some music and kind of fast forward it so you can see it get covered, and then we'll do all the fun little extra touches. So let's go. So before I just run through and glue down, I want to show you how I get my measurement, okay? So this is the first space I want to cover. So I'm going to measure that cover, and this one is 7.5, and it should be 9 inches tall because that's how we designed it. So that means I want to cut a piece here 1/4 of an inch smaller than the dimension so I can have a little bit of a matte edge or a matted edge. So for 7.5, I'll go 7 1/4. And for 9, I'll go 8 3/4, okay? So I've already cut a piece. I want to show you. This one is going to go right here, just like this. So you can see there, I get that little bit of an edge around it, and that just adds a little bit of interest. Now, where it will get a little more difficult, not really anywhere else except here, I want to show you what to do right here. So you'll get your width of this pocket. This pocket is 5 3/4, so I'm going to take 1/4 off. That'll be 5 1/2. And so I want to cut a piece that is 5 1/2 by 9, okay? Unless you do what I did. Let me show you what I did. I wanted to play with this a little bit, and I also wanted to use some of my scrap. And so this is the piece I'm going to use here. This piece wasn't quite wide enough to cover the whole piece, so I'm using it because I could get my angle with it, okay? And then I'm just going to add this little stripe on the side. It'll add a little interest, and I won't have to cut another whole piece to get this, okay? Now, once I had this piece cut, it was the same height here. I can show you that too. So this piece was this tall, right? And what I did was I just put a pencil mark on the side of the page here and cut that angle, okay? And then bonus, this piece that's left, I'm gonna flip it around and I'm gonna put it in here. Now I know those little rainbows are going sideways, but we're gonna pretend like they're just kind of an Art Deco design and put those there because I don't wanna waste that piece of paper, and it's perfect for right there, okay? So that's how I'm gonna cover that pocket. Now one other place I wanna show you where I'm covering a little bit funny, the rest is easy, okay? Right back here. So what I did here, this was one full piece, okay, all the way down. So I came and did the same thing, a pencil mark here and here to make my corner, to make my angle cut. Then what was left over, I brought down here. Now, for some reason, my angle wasn't perfect from one to the other. I'm not really sure why. Actually, this is going to go this way on here. It wasn't perfect from one to the other. So what I did was I put the piece here where I wanted it, and then I made a pencil mark and a pencil mark and cut that angle as well. So now I'm going to get that done. And I do know my orientation is going sideways. It's not a Maymay project if something's not wrong, but I'm not really worried about that. They're florals and the eye won't notice that right away. And when this pocket is full, it certainly won't notice it. So that's how I'm gonna cover those. Now the rest is easy. Just measure your area, take 1/4 of an inch off top and side, and glue the page down. So let's do it. Now you might have noticed in the video that I did not cover this section. I did cover the inside of this, but I wanted to do a little closure here. And I had a couple of schools of thought here. Let me show you what I was thinking. So I want to put this little stripe down here on the bottom. I think this will be super cute. And then the little balloon at the top, like that. Then I really loved this cut apart. And I thought it might be cute to take a piece of the same cardstock that I used to make the folio with, make a mat for this little guy to go right here. And then my original thought was I would put a magnet here and a magnet here so this lifts off to open this up. Then I thought, well, that's kind of cute, but what if we lose this over time? You know, it could get left or dropped or something like that, and then our closure's gone. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to glue this down, and I'm still going to put my closure down here, my little magnet in this area, but I'm going to glue this to the top so it'll just open. Okay, then what it'll leave me with on the other side is I'll have another piece I've cut that I need to decide here. Okay, this helps me decide. I didn't know if I wanted to put it over the top or underneath. I definitely want to put it underneath, okay? So what we need to do is put our magnets where they go first, because I don't want to have to do a magnet implant. Y'all know I'm known for that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue this piece down because it doesn't need a magnet between. I know magnets can be confusing, but honestly, they're very, very simple. You just want to make sure you don't put cardstock down where you need to put a magnet first, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and put this guy down. Now I can glue this piece down because it also won't get a magnet. So my little balloons can go down. That was upside down. I caught it, thank goodness. Now this is where the magnet needs to go. So we need to get our little cut apart. And we need to go ahead and decide where it's going to go. I want it to be kind of centered in the top there. So let me look at that on camera and get that lined up. That looks pretty good. So I think what I'll do is apply my glue from here up. Just thought about this. We got to put our little backer on. See, you have to think this out, right? I'm going to go ahead and just glue my little backer right there. That won't hurt anything. And I'll just leave that end loose. So I guess watch this all the way through, right? And then you'll know what to do. Okay, so I got my little backer glue down. Worst case scenario, I could have just cut a piece. I'm going to leave that lifted so I can put the magnet in there. But this piece can now get glued down because I do want that piece behind it. All right, so now let's try that again. All right, and let's try to center that here. That's pretty good. So that's going to go there. Okay, so now what I can do is I can put my magnet on the back side there. I'm going to open this up like this. And I'm just going to use the small magnets for this one. So I need a plus and a minus. Get my pokey tool out. I'm going to peel off the back of just one of the sides. It doesn't matter which one. Then I'm going to lift this little page up and put my magnet in. Now all I want to do is make sure I have, I'll move this, make sure I have about a finger width here. Get that kind of centered. Make sure I have a finger width here to glue that down. Okay, so I got that in place. Now I'm going to take this little guy off of here. Okay, I can go ahead and glue this down. Let's get that all glued into place, just like so. Now let's put this guy back on top so we know where our magnet's going to go, and then peel the backer off. Now we can close this down and we know exactly where our magnet needs to live. So we'll just close that like so. Let that catch, and now we can lift this up and put our other piece down, and that gets that magnet installed. Not too hard, that wasn't too bad. Now we glue this piece on top. That seals our magnet inside. And our little closure for this area is now done, and it's a magnet. Isn't that cute? I love that. So then you have all this space for photos or whatever else you want to put in there. Now let's talk about the actual closer for this guy. So you will have also noticed that I didn't put my cover piece down. I'm going to actually use these stars. I think the stars are so cute, but I need to put my magnet closure here. But I want to do my closure a little different. Remember the piece we had that we didn't use for the assembly of the album? This is a strip that was left over when we cut some of the paper. I'm going to use this to help me make this closure. What I want is I want to have a tag that flips around here. I'll have a little grommet, a little hole, a little ribbon on the side, and I want to feature this cut apart. I think this is so cute, this little welcome little one cut apart on there. So let me show you what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to punch the corners with my corner punch, my tag punch. I'll show you that real quick. So this is my large angle punch, okay? And just up here, I'm gonna punch those two corners just like that to give me the look of the tag, okay? Then this, I don't actually know exactly where it's going to land. We're going to build this part first, okay? But I have cut a piece that is big enough for me to put it like this, okay? And then have it match here. So what I need to do is I need to corner punch that as well. So I'm going to take my little same angle, large angle, punch that there and punch that there. So this guy can go down on here and it will mat. Do you see that? Does that make sense? Let me tell you what size that is too, because I did not measure it beforehand. Let's see. So this guy is right at 4 1/4, and he's 2 3/4 wide. Okay, so that's what I did there. And again, the band was already cut, so I didn't have to measure it at all. So I want this to land something like this. So my fold, I still want that same matte edge. So you see how I've got my paper lined up like this? I still want that same matte edge. So my fold is gonna need to go here. So I'm just gonna get myself a little temporary fold there. See how I did that? And let's go ahead and glue this piece down. So glue this little guy like this. And I think I may pop this guy up. I've got an idea for how I wanna do it. I'll show you that in a few minutes, but I think I may pop this guy up. But I do wanna add a tag hole and a grommet down here. So let me go ahead and punch that as well. So just right down here, I'm gonna punch a hole. And let's pick a grommet for that. So I'm gonna choose one of these little heart grommets here from my little collection, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it inside. This will be super cute. So I'm gonna poke that into the hole, just like that, and then use my crocodile, I'll say that right in a minute, to squeeze that down. I'm trying to decide if I want the heart to go up. I think I probably do. I mean, I know this guy's going sideways, but we might want the heart to go in that way, or let's look at him again this way and see if we like him going this way. I don't know, let's go this way. I think it'll be different and it'll look cute. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze that down. So there's our little grommet, and now I can fold this, and I'm not gonna worry about scoring it. I know that's where I want it to go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fold this by lining it up on the edge here, making sure this is flush and that side is flush, and then I am gonna crease this. So I'm just gonna crease this down with my bone folder like this. Okay, so that is going to live here along this side. And now what I want to do is do the side mark. Just going to put this here and just press that into place. Make sure I've got it nice and straight. I can do that this way too. When we go to lay this down, we'll want to line up our edges. Make sure everything's nice and flush, and then crease that down. So that should then wrap around this guy. Now, one thing I do know from experience is I'm not going to glue this here, okay? If you do, sometimes whenever you lift this open, it gives you some resistance. Let me see if I can show you from the side. If it's not, it'll just kind of fight itself. See how that wants to move? So I'm not gonna glue this down to anything except the back. And that may seem kind of weird, but I promise whenever the magnet's in place, it'll keep it shut, and then I don't have to worry about that buckling over time. So I need to get this lined up where I want it. Make sure it's in the middle here. Also, I thought about not putting it in the middle. I thought about moving it to the bottom. Let me show you. Thought about having it down here. I think that's really cute too. And I kind of like stuff a little off center. Let's put our star in, our star paper in here and see. I don't know. I kind of like that kind of low like that being our closure. I think that's what I'm going to do. So what I need to do is put my magnet on the back of here and go ahead and place it. This time I'm going to use a bigger magnet. I don't really know what all this guy's going to hold, but this will keep me nice and safe. So I'm going to go ahead and get a bigger magnet for the closure. I'm going to peel the backer off. The other good thing about not gluing this to this is if I want to add anything under here, I'll be able to, no problem. So let's put this guy down about like that. And then let's close it over here. So make sure that's where I want it to be. Make sure everything looks good here. And don't forget to square up when you do this. See how I'm kind of pushing that so it's kind of squared up. All right, so we're going to go ahead and peel that backer off here. This is really your only chance to square up. Once you get this magnet down, that's where it's going to close to every time. All right, so go ahead and square up your folio. Let's make sure we got this guy good and square before we press down. And then press him into place. And that is going to be our closure. I really like that. So I'll then glue this down to the back. Okay, so let's put it where it goes. flip this over, and I'm going to glue this guy down just like this. And you see that I went ahead and did this end too. I didn't think it was going to reach all the way across, but that'll let that look nice and finished. So let's glue all of this down. And again, let's square everything up. And I'm going to open it up so I can get to that back and flatten that out. Back here and push. And then we just need to cover that little piece that we have in the back and put our little star piece on here. So I'm going to cut a piece for this. I'm going to angle punch it, and we will glue that down. And then I'm going to glue this piece down as well. You guys may have seen this in our store. This is the Picket Fence extra wide foam tape. I'm going to use it on this little cut apart. And the reason is I want this to be popped up, but I want it to be nice and sturdy because it's an album and I want it to last a really long time. So what I'm going to do is just place this little guy down onto this foam like this, and then I'm going to cut that out around it. Now I'm going to just use my scissors straight on to the sticky part. You can always lay a piece of parchment paper over the top of this to do this if you want to, but I think we'll be fine. This will run through your die cut machine as well, so it cuts really pretty easy. So let's get that off of there like so. And then I'm going to cut this little piece off here, just right to the edge. So now I know that will be sturdy for a long, long time. And I'm not going to get rid of this extra piece. I'm going to stick it to the back here, and I can use it when I need it. This stuff's pretty cool. It's going to be good for this kind of situation, because you don't want to put this kind of piece popped up on little foam where it's going to get opened and closed and opened and closed. And this is going to be perfect to give me dimension, but also be nice and sturdy over time. So I'm going to peel that back off, and you'll see that we have a hole. We've basically made a pop-up sticker at this point. And now I just want to make sure I line it up even all the way around, because I bet I get one shot with this stuff because it is sticky. That feels pretty good. Open that and flatten it out. And now that's really nice and sturdy. I love that. I love being able to have it popped up, and this feels nice and sturdy. All right, I need to cover this backer and then do our little twine and stuff we're going to do, and the front closure will be done. Okay, to make my bow for here, for on my little tag, I don't want it to be just one strand of baker's twine, so I'm going to loop this around my fingers 3 or 4 times, like so, and I want to see if that is going to be thick enough for my bow, and I think it is. I just want it to be a little more than just a little tiny bow, so I'm going to do that, and then put my reverse tweezers there to hold it. We'll cut this little excess off, don't need that there. Then, I'm going to get myself some more twine. How many loops I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be fine. I'm going to grab a couple of these, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and send this through our little eyelet, up through the top, like that. Then I'm going to place this guy here, and I'm going to tie around it. So I'm going to get my bow. I'm just going to tie those loops on. I can always fidget with it later, but this will be an easy way to get a full fluffy bow without having to really tie it through that hole. So remove the tweezers, tighten this down. Let's go ahead and adjust a little bit. That's cute. And then let's knot it. So now we have a cute fluffy bow. I like that. That looks cute. And I'm going to trim these guys up. They're a little too long. You could tie a knot in the end if you wanted to. I don't really mind if these fray a little bit. I think that'll be cute if it does that over time. So there's our little bow at the end of our little closure. And we have so much more we can do. Let's go back to the inside now. Okay, so just to catch up with where we're at, we've got the front, we've got our little closure on the front, we've got everything covered on the inside. And now what I want to do is I want to make the pieces that are going to go into these little pockets. Now you can do anything you want, you can play and make anything you want in there. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do to give you a little inspiration, okay? So first, I'm going to take a piece of 12 by 12. Now, I already cut this down, and I went, no, I need to show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to take, this is a whole piece of 12 by 12 that I just cut at 8 inches, okay? So I'm going to hold this to the side for a minute because I'm going to work on this piece first. So I'm going to grab my scoreboard. And that big pocket we have in the back, this is what's going to go in there. I'm going to make this kind of little photo booklet. So what I want to do is I want to score this. I know I want 1 1/4 inches at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is score this at 10 3/4. And what I mean by that is I want a little piece that's 1 1/4 inches here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 10 3/4 and split it in half. to know where to cut down here. So half of 10 3/4 will be 5 3/8. So I'm going to score at 5 3/8. Now that might seem weird. I should have just, I could have just said score here and score here, but I wanted to show you that so you can see how I kind of came to this. So if you want to edit your inserts in any way, you can. All right, so I'm going to take this guy and we're going to fold. Now this one I want to fold backwards. So I'm just going to fold this onto itself like this. And I'm actually going to turn that into a little pocket, okay? And then this one, I'm going to flip it over and fold everything forward. And we should be in the middle. We are. That's good. Push that a little bit. Press that down. Okay, now this is where you can get creative with your punches too. I think I'm going to round the corners of this one because I really love how this looks when you round these corners. I'm not going to round this edge, okay? I'm going to round this inside here. I'll show you why in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and glue this first and then I'll round it because I want this to, like I said, to be a pocket. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to grab a little bit of glue and I'm just going to put a line at the top on the outside of our score. Just like that. This is going to be just a tension pocket. Now I'm just going to fold this down, and I really don't need to make this like a pinch pocket because when you put a pinch, you kind of make the pocket loose, and I don't want to do that. I need this pocket to hold pretty flat. So I'm kind of pushing it down to those edges like this because I want it to be pretty flat so that what I put in there will hold in. So let me crease it a little more and kind of burnish that down. And it's not the end of the world if it's not super flat because what I'm going to put in there is going to have a little bit of body to it too. All right, so we'll get those laid down. And then I'm going to do the little corner rounding. So I'll come right here and round that corner and then round this corner. That way I'm just rounding it after I've got it glued shut. So now our little booklet looks like this. Now, this may seem like overkill, and it might be, but I kind of like when we're playing with the paper, you'll probably notice in folios you see people make, it's cool to have a different pattern here than here, and it gives you more movement inside of the folio. So that's one reason I wanted to do that. Now, from that same piece of 12 by 12, you know we cut that little piece that's 4 inches, right? So I'm going to score it in half, and it's a 12 by 12, so we're going to score it in half at 6. And then I'm going to fold it and crease it. And in this particular book, I'm doing a lot of tags. I'm kind of leaning to that. So I'm going to go back to my tag punch. And at the folded part here, I'm going to punch it with the large angle. So it kind of is the shape of a tag. And we can, do more fancy decorating to that later. And from that same sheet we did, I'm just going to slide this inside of here. And now once we add more, cardstock to the front and the back and the inside here, and also here, all of this is going to tighten up on the front, and then we'll also add some inside here. So where I want this to live is this big pocket. Now I think I'm going to put some other stuff in here too, but I want it to live right here. Okay, so that gives us a little booklet there. All right, let me show you the other things I did because they are not nearly as involved. So I'm just going to show you this. Okay, I made 2 little tag booklets like this. These are 5 inches wide by 12 inches long, and all I did was exactly what we just did with that 4-inch one. And you could make these 4-inch if you wanted. I just wanted something bigger. So I don't have to put photos here. I can put journaling or what have you, but I wanted something bigger, and I'll show you where these are going to live. So one is going to go right here. Now, do you guys remember when we assembled this, we put a gusset on this side of our little pocket, but we just closed this straight down? That makes this snug, and that's what we want. We want that to be a little snug so this guy won't fall all the way down. But even if he does, because of the way we close the pocket, that's as far as he'll go. But I want him to live kind of like that, just on an angle. Then the other one that we made, I think I'm going to let it live in here with this guy. I think so. We may end up putting him somewhere else, but that's another good spot for him there. And let me show you a few other ones I've made. So these are just scraps of cardstock. So as I've been building and cutting and things like that, I'm just using scraps of cardstock and turning them into tag shapes. And I really don't care how big they are or really how small, as long as I can use them for journaling or a photo. So these are the ones I've cut. Now these two I'm going to use on my front cover. I'll show you that as we get going. This one, I'll show you where it's going to go. If we open this guy up back here, I'm going to have him live like this, and then this guy's going to live on top of him like this. Now, honestly, it doesn't really matter where they go. It's just some good inserts. So if people are opening your album and putting things back in the wrong place, as long as they fit, it's perfectly fine. All right, so we'll get to the front in a second. Let me show you something else I want to do. So right here, underneath this guy, I think this will be cool if we make a spot to put a photo that is the same as this. Okay, so I had this piece, and you can see those score marks. This is a piece that I messed up when I was scoring, but I don't want to waste it, and you won't see that. And I'll also show you a little trick real quick. If you do ever score something that you shouldn't, maybe in a spot you shouldn't, you can sometimes rub it out, just depending on the cardstock. It may not go completely away as far as looking at it, but it's gone flat because I've rubbed that out. But honestly, it won't matter because I'm going to put a photo there and just use it for the mat. I'm not going to waste that whole piece that I misscored, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up, and I want this guy to live exactly where this is. Okay, so I want it to hide right behind this piece. So what I got to do is kind of get it worked in there, and I'm going to lift that up. And so I know this is where it needs to go. So I'm just going to glue one side down so it'll stay in place. Go ahead and get that down. Then I'll glue across the bottom and the top. So just kind of cheating that, but we got it done, right? So now I'll put a photo here, so when this closes, isn't that going to be cute? You'll open it to a photo, and then we can open it again and put more inside there. So that is where I've gotten so far. Oh, I want to show you this too. I had another tag I didn't show you. It's going to go here. I just like to pile stuff in the pockets. If you just want to put one thing in there, you can. That's fine. Remember I told you I was going to show you where my tags are going to go on the front. So I'm going to put them here. Something like this, and they'll get glued down. But I think it'll look cute to kind of look like we just dropped some tags on the front of the album. And of course, I'll glue them where you can see all of them here. And we'll lay them out in an appealing way when we get to that point. Okay. So, because of video time, we're going to let this be part 2. Now, part 3, I will come in, I will cover these guys, we'll put our photo mat spots in, and we'll do any decorating we're going to do, and then we'll call it done. So, 3 parts on this one. I hope you're enjoying it. This was super fun. I really love this. And I got to be honest with you, the wide foam tape, I showed this to Shannon, and she was like, wow, that's really cool. It is so sturdy. This is not going to fall apart over years of use because that is really made this guy nice and sturdy. You might want to pick some of that up. It's really good stuff, and you ought to be able to use it in lots of places throughout an album. All right, guys, if you're enjoying this, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're making one of these at whatever stage you're in, I want to see it on my customer gallery at MaymayMadeIt.com. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And until next time, bye now.